FDIC. The one and only mayor of Gulfport, Billy Hewes. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. How are you doing, sir? It's a pleasure seeing you at SuperTalk.tv and also on C Spire text line or C Spire TV at Channel 70. How are you?
Better than we deserve, Paul. Considering what's happening next door in Louisiana and what could have been here, we are very grateful.
Did you guys have do you have an emergency declaration out there? Was that also part of it, or did you need one?
No, we issued an emergency declaration very early on. You know, the one thing about the path of this particular storm is I've never seen as much agreement on the experts as far as where it was going to go, and we were potentially in the path from the start. So I issued a emergency order that included an evacuation of our harbor.
Billy, what was the major damage done in that area as far as Gulfport and the coastal area?
You know, it wasn't extensive. We had some tidal surge, but it did not, manifest to the degree we thought it would. There was some roof damage, some property damage, trees down. But I'll tell you, Hurricane Zeta last year, when it came through, we took a major hit with that, and there was more debris on the ground from that storm than we had since Katrina. I really think it did a lot of the clearing out of debris that otherwise might have gotten on the ground, this year with Hurricane Ida. But the fact is, 30 miles, it's amazing what a difference that'll make one way or the other. And we were prepared, but very fortunate that it wasn't any worse.
Well, and we were on the worst side of that thing. It looked like just a repeat of Katrina as far as even the route it was taken. So, and being this far inland, as far as the central part of the state, we were looking for a pretty good pop as a tropical storm, too, and it didn't bear out that way. So we were, even miles from the coast, we were lucky in the Jackson metro area, so we were thankful for that. So is everything back to normal now, as much as normal as can be?
Yeah, we're talking about not getting back to normal, but getting back to better, and that kind of sums up everything from hurricanes to COVID, and we're still working on that in a lot of respects. But that storm, fortunately, it was small relative to Katrina. Katrina was huge. And we expected central Mississippi to get hit by, a category 1 at a minimum. But, the storms like they do, they affect all the way up to the East Coast. We saw the flooding that was there. So it turned out to be pretty wicked in a lot of respects. But, we're doing fine. Everybody's kind of transitioning into the fall season, early fall, school and football, and your mind's there. But we still have some cleanups to do. But what we do down here is that we've got to pay it forward mentality. People were so good to us after Katrina and for an extended period of time. South Louisiana got decimated. And anything that folks in your listening audience can do to participate in relief drives, please do so. There's a lot of need down there, and it's going to take a while for them to crawl out. We're taking supplies every single day to different cities, different towns all across South Mississippi. We have a caravan that we're going to go down with a major load over to St. John Parish, which is Laplace, that area, and I'll point south and do some cooking, stay for a number of days and continue the shuttling back and forth. We were going to go as far down the Grand Isle, but right now there's nobody there. And it's going to be a while before folks can get back in and start the recovery in the extreme southern portions where there are no utilities, there is no water. It's third world right now.
How in the world do you even get insurance in the future for Grand Isle? I was looking at some of the houses, and there were some houses that fared quite well, but for the majority of that place is just wiped out.
I have a brother-in-law who works on the river, and he runs a barge business company, and they did an overflight. He was telling me about this, that with in some areas, it looks like somebody took a box of pixie sticks and just dropped it because there are boats and buildings all just kind of just stacked on one another. And again, we've seen, those Armageddon type pictures and scenes and lived them. And so they've got a lot on their hands, and they got to decide how they live and, what it looks like, post Ida.
I was really worried about our friends at the aquarium. And I know they're kind of celebrating an anniversary now, or getting close to it, but they fared out quite well. So I guess that thing was built to the right specifications as far as the aquarium is concerned.
From the start, that storms and where we live, taking advantage of the year-round climate, but part of that climate has the occasional storm that comes in. So they raised the elevation right there to about 25 feet. They built that hard berm and front area. So that facility is prepared and has been built with storms in mind, the public and the entertainment side as well. But it needs to have some structural integrity, and so they overbuilt a lot of it.
I got to ask you this: the guy that made national news as far as the TV reporter down there, the weather guy, and this idiot from Ohio. And I know your Gulfport police were on this, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you about that. What's your take on this guy? Because it gave us a lot of news that we didn't need, and I'm hoping they apologize for it because they were kind of pointing to the state of Mississippi as it was one of ours.
The national media, the national stereotype is quick to pile on anything Mississippi. If it's negative, they never talk about the positive here. I kind of bristle a lot about that and have, it's been a running theme with me for a long time about people who criticize us have never been here. They sometimes default to the worst. And the fact of the matter is we had this clown come into town. He had a long, long history, and he really made an ugly scene. But we're not going to own that. Because it wasn't ours. It was a random event by a nut who came in from out of town, and as soon as we got on his tail, he got the heck out of town. But he's been arrested, as he should have been. That should not be tolerated, no matter where you are. Mississippi, Ohio, Florida, California, it doesn't matter. We're not going to tolerate that kind of that kind of behavior. We want folks to come here and find out about Mississippi, but we expect them to be decent and hospitable.
It just seems like they enjoy doing that. There was a report on AP, and the report said that 70% of the poison control calls that were coming into Mississippi, it was a big news, it were ivermectin ingestion. 70% of all the calls coming into poison control were ivermectin ingestion, and they had to come back and correct that it was only 2%. But that made national news. It made it look like we're a bunch of idiots out there. 90% of the calls, 70% of the calls had poison control. Just gives you an idea. You're absolutely right. What do we look like as far as cruising on the coast? Everything going to be okay for that?
25th anniversary. It's going to be remarkable. It's an outdoor event. And they had it last year, and it was a great success, and it's going to be a success as well. It is just something that has grown and grown and grown. And as you know, it's been ranked the number 1 and 2 classic car event in America for a number of years running by USA Today. So I think we're approaching, 8,000, registrants already. But it's just a phenomenal success. Gives people an opportunity to see some really cool stuff and good, clean fun.
Well, the coast altogether, we were down for a few days not too long ago, and the coast looks good. Everything looks great. And there's a lot of building going on, not only in Gulfport, but in the surrounding cities, too. And I remember the old days following, even after Camille, but certainly after Katrina, just seems like people pull together now more than ever before, and that's good news.
I think we've learned from experience that you can always come back from whatever challenge you have. We have been experiencing a very robust economy. Now, we've been pushing and putting incentives out there and encouraging folks to come back. But one thing everybody knows is the public throughout history will always gravitate back to shorelines. No matter what comes, what happens, it's just where we find water and we get to it. Yep. And so we're always going to have that component to it. It's just we need to make sure that we are pushing the envelope to differentiate, to provide a balanced amount of amenities. Throughout COVID, it turns out with us being a drive-to market and the way we talked about the secret coast, we're still one of America's best-kept secrets. People are starting to discover us. But statistically, we did better than most areas of the country because of how not only did we approach, handling the challenge of COVID, but also how we have continued to promote this coastal community, how easy it is to get in and out, and of course how hospitable our people are and how great the food is.
I got to ask you about, and I know I sound like I'm beating a dead horse on this one, but it is important. How is the coast? Because the coast, all along the coast is going to be, and I'm sure all the municipalities and all the mayors are looking at what's going to happen very soon. We may have a special session for medical marijuana. How will it change the face of the Mississippi Gulf Coast? Back with the mayor, Billy Hewes. I can imagine, I just thought about this, I can imagine that the Billy Hewes band would be playing this song. You guys ever done Louie Louie?
Oh
the
yeah.
band?
Matter of fact, Fofo Gillich sat in on the piano with us, and he's a musician, so that's one of the tunes we did. Yeah.
That ought to be recorded. I'd love to have that one. So, where are you guys playing next, by the way?
We're playing at a festival at Centennial Plaza on September 18th. We're going to play the Chiwis are coming in town, and we're going to play with them a little bit.
By the way, how's the Shuckers? Everything okay as far as the Shuckers is concerned all along the coast? Or the attendance seems to be pretty good.
Season's going. Look, people are looking for things to do and get out, and glad to have it. Yep. And so I think the Shuckers are doing all right.
Let me just touch on this and a couple of more questions here before we let you go. The number one thing is when are we going to have this special session? And it looks like it may be called very soon. The announcement might be forthcoming before we know it. Your thoughts on that? Have you had any input?
The input that we've had is through the Municipal League. Last year in particular, we engaged pretty heavily in the discussion on that, and the concerns that we raised collectively as cities is the ability to zone and provide proper taxation, that if folks are going to be coming in and selling or that particular product, that we have a say in where they can and cannot set up shop.
That's basically the only thing that you're concerned with?
Well, those are the two major components right now, because the way the proposal was on the constitutional question, it would have run roughshod over cities' ability to either determine whether they are going to have the product available or not. That's the opt-in, opt-out question. Mm-hmm. But I think more importantly for a lot of us to override is if they do come or if they are allowed, where they can be allowed to locate. And then again, there was no taxation component with that product. And, of course, the protections that would have been given to any product in the Constitution were of concern, but that's not before us now. It's really about, how this industry is going to operate and function from a medical marijuana standpoint.
Billy, Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann was on with me last week, and we were going over some of the amount of money that's coming in, minus the infrastructure package right now. But it's kind of hard to keep your hands on exactly what is going on, all the planning and everything else. But speak to that as far as how you guys are using some of those dollars.
So when the first tranche of money came, it was said, yeah, you can use it, but you have to do it on water, sewer, and broadband. And every city's different. And, we're glad to have the opportunity to have the monies and put it where we need. And some cities are going to use every bit of that for either new sewer or sewer replacement, dealing with that. Some will do broadband. The state's already done a lot with respect to broadband components over the last couple of years. And so those are good options to have. What we had asked the feds to do, Treasury, to expand the definition of, does that include stormwater, not just water, but stormwater, runoff, those sorts of things. Water quality issues are directly related to that in the sewer. And then many cities, have surface transportation, surface infrastructure, roads, issues that they need to get to. And that allowance is not there for that first round of money. So we have yet to see what happens with the infrastructure bill. Lieutenant Governor Hosemann had talked about for cities who take on some of these sewer issues through the initial CARES Act proposal, that there is some consideration that the state may match that. And if they do, that really allows a lot of us to consider some larger scale projects that have been languishing for quite some time. So, we're still kind of figuring out what is allowed and how we go about applying those monies.
Casinos are all open. Is the cleanup on the beach complete? Ready to go?
A lot of sand on the road still, but the beach crews have been working through the Labor Day weekend, cleaning up a lot of the flotsam and the jetsam, we call it, basically a lot of the storm debris, which is, seagrasses, boards from piers. It's just a mix of things. It's all tends to wash up on the shore. So they're in the process as we speak of cleaning it up and getting the beaches pretty again.
You got it. Always good talking to you, sir. Appreciate it very, very much.
You as well. Y'all coming down for a cruise in the coast?
If we're invited, yeah. But, you always invite the midday show, never the morning show for some odd reason.
Now, that's not true. It's an open invitation. So here, I'm issuing it right now. Matter of fact, the aquarium is having, instead of Splash Bash, the Friday before cruising, they're having a function where they have those drones.
It's going to cut us out here, but
Go ahead,
sorry?
come down anyway. Come down for cruise.